As we continue our journey through the pandemic world, we continue to adjust our movie viewing based on our comfort. Late last year, Warner Brothers announced they would be releasing its slate of 2021 movies simultaneously on HBO Max as they were released in theaters. Dune was one of the most anticipated title of this slate of movies. The big screen modern vision of Frank Herbert's 1965 space epic novel is part one of a planned two-part adaptation, which also boasts a star-studded cast. I'm Ronald Young Jr., and I'm leaving the theater. All right, this is Ronald, and I am leaving the theater after seeing Dune. Dune, directed by Denis Villenueve, written by John Spaihts, sorry about that, Denis Villenueve and Eric Roth, starring Timothee Chalamet, Rebecca Ferguson, Oscar Isaac, Josh Brolin, Stellan Skarsgard, Dave Bautista, Stephen McKinley, or Stephen McKinley, Zendaya is Michi, Jason Momoa, and Javier Bardem, I just realized who Javier Bardem was. They really, it's weird. They weren't even trying to hide him from me. Yeah, that was weird. I just now realized that I was watching Javier Bardem in there. And it's funny because the camera there was a point where they introduced the Javier Bardem character, and I remember looking and being like, am I supposed to know who this guy is? No idea who this guy was. But yeah, it's obviously Javier Bardem now that I'm thinking about it again. So Dune is a movie that was written Dune is a movie that has been remade. It was a movie that came out back in the day. I should have wrote notes down for this. As you guys can see, I'm very unprofessional tonight. We'll keep it going. It's 10:57. I should be in bed, but instead I'm out here watching movies. So I can tell y'all what to think about them. Okay, so Dune is an old property. The book was written in 1964. I don't remember the author's name, but it'll be in the show notes, so you can look that up. There was one adaptation of it that was a movie, I believe, and then there was a sci-fi television show adaptation of it, Sci-Fi Channel television show adaptation of it, which is widely panned by critics and fans alike. So not one that people talk about that much, I don't think. and it essentially tells the story of spacefaring humans in the future. A bunch of different houses, all fighting for resources on the planet of Arkansas. No, it's called Artaxis. Oh, Lord Jesus. See, this is why I should have taken some notes on this. And you know what's funny? You guys are going to be mad because this is the second time I've seen the movie, and I do not remember the name of this planet. And I want to just give a personal shout out to Josh, who was supposed to be on this episode with me. And if he were here, he would be able to correct me on things like this. And this is exactly why I didn't want to do this review by myself. Thanks a lot, Josh. He's a parent now, so he can't really just... It's not his fault. All right, anyway, the point is... This movie, it's a space opera essentially, and it's not. I mean, I guess it's not really an opera, but watching it, I remember I watched it both on HBO Max at home with captions on, and I did that just so I would not be confused when I then watched it in the theater, and I'm so glad that I did, because there was a lot of things I think I would have missed otherwise if I didn't watch it like that. That being said, I don't know how normal people are going to, when I say normal people who did not do what I just did, I don't know how they're going to acclimate to watching a film like this. It is very, I think people use the word Byzantine, meaning like there's a ton of people in this movie and a ton of things to keep track of. And there's people saying stuff and they're using words that I've never heard of in my life. So sometimes I don't know what they mean. And I think they think that just because we see it happening in front of us that we'll understand it. But I only understood it because this was the second time watching the movie. But that's not to say that it's confusing. Visually, the movie is very, 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 very good. Like, I mean, there was stuff I was just like, man, I could watch this for ages. Like, there's wide shots, which I love. Denis Villenueve has done my favorite movie, which is Arrival. It is my number one favorite movie. And he's also done Sicario. Two movies that are just beautiful to look at. I don't think he used Roger Deakins did Sicario. That was his cinematographer. I don't recall who did the one for who's the cinematographer for Dune, but regardless, beautifully shot. And this movie was shot in IMAX, and it deserves to be seen in IMAX. And I mean, I'm telling you, I've seen both. If you are safe, if you feel safe to go out and see a movie, this is one that you see in IMAX. But I mean, visually, I don't think that makes up for the parts that this movie lacks, which is, I didn't care. The reason why I say I don't care, when I say I don't care, it's not only because that means I don't think the movie has done enough to make me connect with the characters in this movie. I didn't care. I really just did not care. I didn't care about what was happening to people. I had no vested interest in any of these characters, and I think it's because it's poor character development. And I think that they anticipated, because I knew these faces, a lot of familiar faces on screen, that I would care about that. And I'm like, I don't know why people are upset. I don't know who to root for. The only people I know that I'm rooting for are the people in the desert. And anybody who knows me knows exactly why I'm saying that. But I'm definitely not rooting for any of their alien overlords that are coming over to pillage the planet for its resources. So I'm definitely not rooting for those characters. However, there's a conflict that's introduced very early between those types of characters, which makes it very I don't know. It kind of muddies the water, if you will. It just makes it a little bit. It makes it a little bit tricky, if anything. I don't know if tricky is the right word, but it's like one of those things that it muddies the water. I think muddying the water is the best way to describe it. So, like, yeah, I don't know. It's not a bad movie. Like, and that's the thing. This is a difficult review for me because I don't think this movie was bad. Like, this is part one of supposedly two, and I'd watch the second one. What I do feel like is that it's a disservice that this movie was a movie and not like a series or on HBO. I mean, like, if you have HBO Max already, like if you already have access, Warner Brothers, to this streaming platform, and I guess, I mean, they couldn't have anticipated, because this was one of the ones that came out before, that was supposed to come out before the pandemic, or right as the pandemic happened, or like midway into the pandemic, something like that. It was one of the ones supposed to come out then, so I don't think they could have anticipated that. They wouldn't have known to make this a series. But I feel like most of the things that bothered me about this movie all had to do with the fact that, I mean, I wanted to see more. I'm like, okay, great, tell me more. Okay, great. Tell me more. That's kind of where I felt like I kept landing. And for this movie to be as long as it was, 2 hours and 35 minutes, and me to walk away still saying like, you guys could have told me a little more about what was going on there. To me, that's indicative that maybe it shouldn't have been a movie. Maybe it should have been a series. And I think it would have been a good series, because I think there was a lot of elements in here that I was watching, and I tweeted this, that this felt a lot like Game of Thrones in space. So it's kind of like if Game of Thrones, and not Star Wars necessarily, because Star Wars is just, we'll say elements of Star Wars, and Game of Thrones had a baby, because it leans more heavily, I think, Game of Thrones than it does Star Wars, except for the fact that it's in space, of course. So I think that people will enjoy this, especially if you watch it in theaters. There's a lot of things like the Hans Zimmer score is fantastic. It's just wah, 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 wah. You're gonna love that. And visually, like I said, it was just very pretty to look at, and some of the things that I saw on HBO Max, like on my I guess piddly television compared to seeing it in a Dolby theater at AMC. Shout out to AMC, give me money. There's a difference, you know what I mean? So seeing these same images big, I'm like, okay, I get it. This movie deserves to be in IMAX. It's shot in IMAX, and it needs to be seen in IMAX. So yeah, I think I think it's a good movie. It's funny because Josh Joyner is texting me right now. He just happened to text me right now, so I'm gonna read his text into my review just so he could still be a part of this review. He says, so going into Dune, I definitely didn't realize that it wasn't going to cover the whole of the first book, and there was about 45 minutes left, and I turned to Jess, his wife, who was casually watching while reading, and said, I don't know how they're gonna wrap this up. And I think that's fair, because I think he didn't realize, it's a fair assessment for people walking in thinking they're going to see a complete movie. And I will tell you, when this movie ended, the audience around me all seemed to kind of be stunned silence. And then I heard someone say that sucked. And I don't agree with them. I don't think it sucked, but I do think if you don't realize that another movie's coming, you could walk out of this being like, are y'all serious right now? Are y'all serious right now? And that's the thing with a movie like this, and which I am now coining the Duneverse. You're all welcome, the cinematic Duneverse. With a movie like this, you don't have any goodwill coming into it, except for the fact that for the other people who watched Dune or who were big Dune fans reading the book or whatever. Those are the only people you have goodwill for. So it's not like it's almost like there's a gap here in terms of knowledge of people who realize that this is a happening, that something is happening here that you should be paying attention to. This is why you should like Dune or whatever, or this is why you should be excited that you're seeing these characters. To give you an example, for all the people who watch Star Wars, every time you saw a Star Wars preview, and they were they do the little teasers, and all of a sudden they show a lightsaber on screen. Everybody's like, whoa, snap, it's Star Wars, I'm so excited. Did you see that trailer? Oh my God. Whereas with Dune, the only people that got excited are people who knew about it before. So a movie like Dune, people saw the previews, and I'm sure they all got interested and be like, oh, that looks crazy, I'm gonna go see that. But people who don't know anything about this universe or anything about the Duneverse, they're just gonna be like, you gotta help buy me into this. And I just don't think that they did that in this movie. They did not do enough to sell it to me why should I care about this? Because I really don't. I'm going to see the second one because, I like movies and I like going to the theater and I'm a movie critic. So I'm going to see the second one. But man, I don't know if they did enough to get everybody else to go see the second one. I mean, and again, we're in a pandemic. And it's going to make money. There were people in the theaters. It was people are book tickets to go see it. So it's going to make money. And I mean, they'll have good enough reason to make number two. But yeah, and the performances, I don't think anybody stood out to me. Everybody did exactly what I expected them to do. Dave Bautista was Dave Bautista. He was big and imposing. Timothee Chalamet, looked confused and pensive a lot. Mostly pensive more than confused. He cried at one point, which I guess was fine. Zendaya was just kind of mystical, which I also felt was an underuse of Zendaya. Stellan Skarsgard was in a fat suit, and it felt a little. I was watching this, and I'm like, I don't know how I feel about this. It was one of those things where I'm like, this feels like it borderlines on fat shame me a bit, but I'm not gonna nitpick too much. But there was a couple things in there. I was like, oh, okay, gotcha, okay. Okay, I see the commentary here, you jerks. So yeah, I mean, go see it. Like I said, I said all this to say, I mean, I think this is a 3-star movie, 3 of 5 stars. I think this is a 3-star movie. Like, I liked it. I was trying in my head to justify bumping it up to 3.25 or 3.5, but it's not there. Even as I'm talking about it now, I'm just like, I liked it. It was fine. Go see it. You know what I mean? In theaters, go see it. This is a good, like, I mean, it's getting a little like, you know, brisk out. If you want to see something and you want to like be into it a little bit, you'll be into this movie, you know, but like, it's going to leave you a little much to be desired. I think if you're like me and you like really think about things like this, it's going to leave a little much desired. And for people who even watch movies and just like, for people who watch movies and just enjoy the action and all that stuff and just say, Ronald, it's not that serious, you know, I just want to watch boom, boom, pow on screen. I don't think there's enough of that for you to enjoy this movie. Like, there's a lot of big grand sequences that I like, and I love wide shot things with giant things all going around and making noises. I like all that, but there's not enough like hand-to-hand combat or fighting or skilled battle or any of that stuff going on for me to say like, hey, y'all will enjoy this movie too. So I think it's going to be straight shot down the middle. I think the audiences are going to be divided on this. I think the critics are going to love it, probably. I don't know. And it's funny, I am a critic too, but I feel like I don't know if I'm going to be on Team Critic on this one, because this one I'm just like, I am going to forget about this movie until until the new preview comes out. I'm not going to recommend this movie to anybody unless there's nothing else playing in the theater. So yeah, but it wasn't, like I said, it was not bad. I did not like it. I liked it. I didn't hate it. But yeah, I feel very lukewarm. So I feel like 3 stars is probably the best way to go here. So yeah, I mean, you know, go see Dune or don't, or watch it on HBO Max or don't. I don't care. Yeah, that's where I am right now. And with that, Leaving the Theater is a production of ohitsBigRon Studios. Theme music by the mysterious Breakmaster Cylinder. To find out more about this show and other ohitsBigRon Studios shows, follow me on Twitter and Instagram at ohitsBigRon. That's at ohitsBigRon. If you like this show, I host another show on the Pushkin Industries podcast network called Solvable. Check that out wherever you listen. Leaving the Theater will be back soon. Thanks for listening.